Well, hello everyone. This is Tim with the Bible Believers Perspective. I've got a guest I'm going to bring online here in just a moment. I'm going to put a call into my friend and pastor of a church down in Lubbock, Texas, Stephen Miller. We're going to be discussing, is Donald Trump the Antichrist? And we'll discuss a little more of Bible prophecy, end times discussion, things that are happening now, I'm sure. In fact, I think you're going to find that Steve believes we may have already entered into the tribulation. Now, as you can tell, I have my Gulf of America shirt on that my daughter bought me for Christmas, bless her heart. So I'm going to take the side that Trump is not the Antichrist, and you'll find Stephen Miller will take the side that he is the Antichrist. Here is a picture of Stephen. This is him. That's his Facebook page picture. Try to get it there. So if you're looking for Stephen Miller, that's with a PH, Miller, normal spelling there. Stephen Miller, pastor of church at Temple Baptist in Lubbock, Texas. I knew him from the Kansas City Baptist Temple up here years ago. He is also a Bible believer. Let me put the call into Steve. Yes, Stephen, that's me. I've already introduced you to my audience. I held up your picture with the lion grabbing your throat from your Facebook page. That's what you. So everybody will know who you are. I let them know that we're going to be discussing, is Donald Trump, the current president of the United States, the Antichrist?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Hillary Clinton.
So.
Yeah, you threw a curveball at me already today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you've been out there too long turkey shooting today. Did you get any turkeys?
I was a little too chilly for
this turkey. None today. So anyway, so in a number of your posts on Facebook, I would guess also in a number of your videos that you've done, you've mentioned one that you believe we may have just entered the tribulation, Daniel's 70th week last October. I'll let you explain that a little bit as to why. And then also that you think Donald Trump is or could easily become the Antichrist. And that's what probably a lot of people are wondering in light of a recent picture he posted. Everybody thinks that's him as Jesus. It's not. He explained it, but still took the picture down.
Oh, yeah, Donald Trump explained it. Yeah, I believe it.
So just for support, I've got my Gulf of America shirt on today that my daughter purchased for me for Christmas. It was a Christmas gift. I couldn't find my MAGA hat, but I wasn't going to wear it very long anyway. I will let the audience know I did vote for Donald Trump all 3 times. But I voted for him as president of the United States to do the job as commander-in-chief and the chief executive officer of the government, not as pastor of my church. So anyway. So,
I didn't vote for him, and I don't want him to be the pastor of my church. So.
No, I don't want him to be the pastor of my church either, but I don't mind him being the president, as he is kind of the art of the deal. Book he's written, but he's done very well with dealing with foreign countries as far as I'm concerned. He's tried his best domestically. I know the oil price is up a little bit. You're down in Texas. I think I paid $3.55 last night per gallon of gas. What's it like down there?
Oh, it's Sam's. It's $3.04.
Oh, yeah, cheaper. I have to drive down there just to get 50 cents less a gallon. Maybe it will shoot back down here shortly. They seem to be doing pretty well. Well, explain to us why you think Donald Trump is or may become the Antichrist.
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of. I'm glad you said is or may be, because, it's kind of potato of whether you're. I'm talking here as I'm trying to get my live stream set up, which is real frustrating. So bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me.
Sure.
But I feel like there's things that you would look at with the Antichrist that are going to be going on before he's revealed, because we both obviously agree that he's not we may not even agree on this. I believe he's revealed when he's in the temple. I mean, when he sits down and claims to be God. I don't know that you're convinced 2 Thessalonians 2 is talking about the future. I mean, from what we talked about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, no, Yeah, I could see that future. It may have a double reference for those who aren't aware of it. What Steve's talking about there was the Roman Emperor Titus goes into Jerusalem and burns down the temple. I don't know if he sat down in it and declared himself God before then or not, but they definitely burned down the temple and took it stone apart, stone by stone, which did fulfill what Jesus said in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 17, I believe, or 21. So the temple was destroyed. The abomination that maketh desolate, they have not sacrificed in the temple since that destruction happened. So the Jews we have today are not following basic Judaism because they're not sacrificing. I don't even think they do any type of offerings. I think they just collect money and put it in their plates and then do investments with it or buy stuff with it. I don't know what they're doing, but they're certainly not fulfilling Old Testament sacrifices or offerings in any way in modern Judaism.
Well, even if they did, it wouldn't be accepted by the
Right,
Lord.
right.
Sacrifice.
So, yeah.
But I guess back to that, my point then is, I'm about ready to throw my computer here. So, when Donald Trump, when the 70th week of Daniel begins, that's my point then, is the Antichrist, the Daniel 9:27, I think that's the best verse that kind of shows him doing something before the middle of Daniel's 70th week because he confirms the covenant. And you agree with that, right?
Oh, there's some type of peace covenant treaty, we call treaty today, that happens. So, when will that happen? Or is this tied to what we would call the Abraham Accords, which were designed up by Trump and his team? Could be a foreshadow of that.
Talking about the prince that is to come, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. So, that's where I've always stood on that over the years. That's the prince to come. That's the Antichrist. He's the one confirming the covenant. And then in the middle of that 7-year period, so it's got to be the same individual, he goes into the temple and does the thing that Paul elaborates on in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So I guess that's my point with all that is if and I say if, and I've been so consistent on this, and I know your friend Mr. C always tries to say I'm moving the goalposts and all this kind of stuff. I've yet to say that I know 100% that the Daniel 70th week has begun. And so, I feel like I'm very consistent on that. And if it has begun, well, then that means that okay, now it would be 3 years from now because I believe it's possible that it could have started last October. And I don't want to spend the whole time thing about proving the timing of the end times, with the 70th week of Daniel. I believe it'll end on the Day of Atonement. Well, that means if the Day of Atonement in 2032, that's where it would be if it started last fall. You just back up 7 years on a Jewish calendar, 360-day year. That's why I was watching last fall for middle of October, and you have to admit, just looking at the pictures, in fact, the pictures in some ways paint 1,000 words. When you see all these, pictures of peace 2025 in the background, Donald Trump sitting there, with all these big shot Middle East world leaders and other world leaders signing, and really just a peace deal. That's what else you call it, because that was what it was all about. Yeah, it just involved Gaza, but it was a broader, tying back to the Abraham Accords that were back
in his first term.
That was clear back in 2020 that he got all that done. So if things started then to kind of get back into what I think we're talking about today, so that would mean that we're 6 months into it, and so if Donald Trump, because I think he's heading up the most powerful country in the world, which I think the Antichrist clearly does, when the book of Revelation is talking about him in more detail there, which is usually the middle on. I think there's very little in the book of Revelation that deals with him in the first 3.5 years. We can look at that some if you want. But the most of what it's talking about is once he's, forcing people, him and the false prophet, to take the mark, to worship him, all that kind of stuff. Well, that's happening clearly in the last 3.5 years, right? You agree with that?
Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you, since you brought up the false prophet, do you have any idea who the false prophet might be?
Well, I tell you, when Trump was running for re-election, just right there before, I sure thought Elon Musk was looking good. And then they had their falling out, and so I was kind of like, man, well, that's a bummer. But then he, they kind of shook hands and made up, and who knows? I mean, he definitely, make fire come down from heaven on the earth, and I mean, there's some stuff that he does there. He's not like, to me, the kind of individual that has the to try to take over the world, but he definitely does seem to be a kind of a person. Jared Kushner, I could see him being the false prophet too. So those are the kind of people I look to potentially to be like the false prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me, while you're still getting ready there, setting up, let me read a list of some of the characteristics or signs of the Antichrist that we kind of get from the Bible, from various verses. The verses aren't listed here. Somebody's put together a little thing. I'm just getting this off Google real quick. He will appear as a brilliant, charismatic politician offering solutions to world problems. You could say, well, Trump kind of fits that. He will boast, blaspheme God, and exalt himself above every object of worship. Now, Trump is not there yet.
Yeah, okay, keyword, yeah. Although he does say things, Tim, at the very least, he says things, and I don't want to make the whole thing about this last week, because I didn't just start teaching this, obviously, last week when he put his post up.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy definitely, he teeters on the edge. He doesn't rebuke people when they call him the Messiah, like the Jews have, many of them. He doesn't rebuke.
I think they referred to him as Cyrus, did they not?
They did also that, but they've also there's several key leaders over in Israel that have called him, they think he's the Messiah. I mean, I've got videos I've watched on that, with him standing there. They also, somebody made the comment about him, like something that had to do with the second coming of God. If you Google that, you can find that video out there. And again, talking about Donald Trump being the second coming of God. Well, he was quoting him. I mean, Donald Trump saying all that. And again, it would be like if somebody said that about you, Tim, mm-hmm. You wouldn't say, without rebuking that statement, oh, hey, somebody the other day told me I was the second coming of God. Mm-hmm. Obviously not leave that hanging. Donald Trump leaves those kinds of things hanging and doesn't rebuke them. And so the point then is, yes, wouldn't be speaking things as openly, blatantly, blasphemously like mm-hmm. He would be, in the future. But he definitely is already, to me, speaking great things. The word "great" is his favorite word in his vocabulary.
Okay, let me read a couple more things. And one, you're going to say, well, that could be future. But the second thing I'm going to list, you're going to kind of dissuades it from the Trump argument. Empowered by Satan, he will perform false miracles, including bringing fire down from heaven. Well, we saw a moonshot go up and down recently. We know he can send up missiles back and forth, et cetera, et cetera. But another point is he will violently persecute Jews and Christians.
Yeah, well, that ain't happened yet, obviously.
Well, obviously that's not there, because right now they're in sync with Israel. It more looks like that Benjamin Netanyahu's pulling him around by the nose.
But the thing but even that, Tim, just again, I think is one of the, regardless of what people think about Donald Trump being the Antichrist or not, Donald Trump, he threw his own mother under the bus if she turned on him. And so think about this, Revelation 17 clearly shows the relationship between the harlot, the whore, mm-hmm. and beast. She's riding the beast. So clearly, and many Bible teachers, scholars have believed this over the years, it shows that the Antichrist system kind of uses him, in a sense, and he allows the system to think, that they're together, but then the 10 horns, okay, which are these 10 kings to come, they, with him, obviously, turn and devour the woman. Well, I think right there shows then that that's what's going to be the case once he claims to be God, once he has that spirit of the Antichrist enter into him, that clearly that spirit that was in Judas Iscariot that we both agree on.
Right.
That takes him over, Tim. That's when he goes from being Christian's best friend, Israel's best friend, to their worst nightmare. Yes. So that didn't contradict anything.
So now he's had the one assassination attempt. Well, he's probably had more than that, but the one that was pretty obvious, I saw live on TV from his rally, a couple of years ago, when he was running for his second term.
Yeah.
It was a head wound. It wasn't deadly. It almost was. But do you think that was a fulfillment of prophecy there? Or you think that was just a one-off?
No, I don't think that was a fulfillment of prophecy. No.
Okay. All right.
It's not a mortal. I've always. No, I say this. I could be wrong on this. But no, I don't. It's one of those that I would say, well, okay, if push comes to shove and he wound up going on and didn't have another, mortal wound, well, okay, it was a headshot. I mean, so, yeah, it's, tip of his ear, but still, the ear's on your head. And so I've just always assumed from my, studying scriptures, I say assumed, I'm just being honest. I mean, we all get presuppositions, and then, I never mind being challenged on those things because I look myself.
Okay.
So but I do look for a more, realistic. I say that I'm not obviously ever. Somebody accused me of trying to do this the other day. Again, your friend Mr. C. Oh well, you better be careful to say the kind of stuff you say, rhetoric, blah blah blah. Somebody goes around and kills Trump. You're responsible. He's insinuating that, whatever. Because I never would try to incite violence and even hit toward it, obviously.
Okay. Of course, we all know that there's whoever the Antichrist is, there's going to be a mark tied with it, a name, a number. We all know it's 666. He's described as kind of a man of lawlessness or man of sin. You mentioned the false prophet, kind of tying in with the religious system. A lot of believers, Bible believers, and others think that the Roman Catholic Church is the whore of Revelation 17.
I think the professing Christianity as a whole is. I don't think the Mystery Babylon is just the religious part, but I think it's definitely Christendom.
Well, he certainly had a falling out with Pope Leo the other day, who happens to be an American from Chicago. And then he'd
be on my short list of people that could be the Antichrist. You never know.
So we're gonna have a guy from Queens, New York, and New York City, and a guy from Chicago who are going to be the Antichrist and the false prophet.
Yeah, well, again, you're asking that like.
I mean, that's.
Tim, who knows what their heritage is? I mean, come on. It's like everybody's DNA. I mean, we all go back to Noah.
Right.
Saying that, and again, whether I can't think of a verse that says he has to have, Abraham's bloodline in him in order to be the Antichrist.
Oh, I'm not saying that, but I did come across another video, and for those of you who don't know, maybe some of you seen the short video from Tucker Carlson. I saw a few seconds of, and I saw another guy's video discussing what Steve and I were. Is Donald Trump the Antichrist? Not. He doesn't believe so. There's certain things, and I'll mention Steve. One of them is in Daniel 8, where you have Daniel describing people who are ruling the he-goat, and then up comes a little horn, which waxed. This is Daniel 8:9, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which he describes as the Antichrist, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. But this is all Middle Eastern stuff: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran, maybe down into Egypt a little bit.
He's going to be over there, right? Because the Antichrist is going to be over there, Tim, in the end times, which, again, Donald Trump's already in the Middle East without setting a foot there right now, you could argue. Okay.
So but this really, portends to the lineage, bloodlines, what nation he comes from.
See Daniel 8 at all inferring that on the bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
But again, and if anything, there's a verse in Daniel 8, pretty sure, talks about, depends on, again, some of that stuff, Daniel 8 is, Daniel 7 and Daniel 11. There's a lot of stuff in those chapters I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it way better in Revelation, and so, I'm looking at those things like, well, they'll make more clear later on. But, if he comes from the west, because it's one of the verses there talks about him skipping, I think it says like from the west.
Let me see if I can find it here. He which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. It doesn't list the west.
Yeah, there's another verse though that says it there in Daniel 8. I may have to get my other Bible out here.
I'll see if I can find it.
I just saw that one recently, and so it's not one that I'm just used to pulling up right off the top of my head.
Let me see if I can get there.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west, and then it talks about him, on the face of the horn, and touched not the ground, et cetera, et cetera. And so, if that's the Antichrist, well, that's the only verse in the Bible I know that would actually be interesting because it would show he comes from the west.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Coming from the west, because you got the king of the north, or the king of the north, king of the south in Daniel 11, the kings of the east, Revelation 16, and the one direction left is west, and so
right. Well, let's look at this. Let me read down through here. This is Daniel 8:5, and it says, "And I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes." I'm not sure what the horn stands for. "And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him." What was the operation called? Epic Fury? That's interesting. "And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with the choler against him," really mad, "and smote the ram and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand." Well, it certainly looks like modern day Iran, doesn't it? "Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven." Four notable ones come up down, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. And
it waxed into the Antichrist.
Right. So it's not the he-goat that does come from the west, and maybe Trump is the he-goat, but it comes down here, and he takes care of the ram, which might be Iran there. I could see that. "Therefore," verse 8, "therefore," this is Daniel 8:8, "therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven, and out of one of them came forth a little horn." So four horns come up out of the he-goat, and then out of one of those horns, a little horn comes up, which waxed exceeding great. So in that case, if Trump is the he-goat in 8:5, there's four horns that come out from him. Maybe that's four other leaders, because he's not going to be president after 2028.
Well, okay. This is why I wish I didn't brought that up, okay? Because that's what I was just saying there, that's the only place you're talking about Daniel 8 earlier, and there is that aspect of the West. That's the one verse in the Bible I've ever seen that, even in the context is talking anything about something coming from the West in connection with the Antichrist, right there, pretty quick. So, but back to the whole thing with, I think the thing that people bring up to me more than anything else about, besides, here's the three things I hear people say all the time. It's why Donald Trump can't be the Antichrist, and they're all superficial. It's this argument here about, well, he has to be from the Middle East. Okay? I just don't see that in Scripture. yeah, you may have types and pictures of him in the Old Testament being a king from the Middle East, but that's what those are, types and pictures, because clearly Daniel 2 shows the merging of things going from Babylon to Persia to Greek to Rome to then the 10 legs, right? You're familiar with that? And then the 10 toes. Well, that shows then all these are connected, all these kingdoms in that regard. So, that's what I'm saying. Daniel's a very big picture kind of book on a lot of that. And so the Antichrist kingdom, it's not going to be located physically in ancient Babylon. No, but it's connected with all those kingdoms. It's again mystery Babylon the Great. I've heard guys say this for years and years and years that I still agree with, that the whole aspect of the false teachings and professing Christianity, that again have come from a lot of this same stuff that has just come all the way down through history, and it's a false religion. It's the whole thing of the end times is it's a converging of, or a culmination of, however you want to describe it, of all these anti-God religious systems. That's to me what Babylon the Great represents. And so there is the religious element, but then there's also there's the military element.
Right.
Clearly lays that out.
Well,
and there's the financial, the Revelation 18, the whole chapter is about the economic part of the Antichrist kingdom. And that's to me the part where, again, the United States is, if you had to pick a country in the world, hey, by the world's definition, Tim, hey, what's the most Christian country in the world? People would say the lost world would say, well, the United States, What's the richest country in the world? Oh, the United States. What's the most militarily powerful country in the world? Oh, the United States. Oh, okay, check. 3 things off the box there. Who's the leader of that country? Oh, okay, there we go, Donald Trump. So,
yeah. Okay.
There's a lot going.
Let me get back here to Daniel 8, because I just found something a little later in the chapter. He says, again, in 8:5, and as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the he-goat had no little horn between his eyes. He came to the ram that had 2 horns, and which I'd seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close to the ram, and he was moved with the collar against him, and smote the ram and broke his 2 horns. Do you know who the ram is there? It's verse 20. Verse 20, the ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. That would be Iran. So I'm wondering if we're not seeing Daniel chapter 8, verses 5 through 7, and into verse 8, if we're not seeing that right before our eyes today, if that's not prophecy that's going on right now. Because you could he didn't touch the ground, he just knocked him down with missiles. And they've stamped upon him pretty good. I mean, you're not getting around this one. So again, I would say the he-goat is probably Trump. And then you got 4 other horns that come up after him. For it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven, verse 8. And out of one of them came a little horn, and that is supposed to be the Antichrist. So I don't think Trump's the Antichrist. He might be the predecessor for him. But in these verses here, and what I'm looking at today, it certainly looks like Trump's the he-goat, because we know the ram is Persia, which is Iran. I don't know.
The whole thing with Persia, you see the same thing over in Ezekiel 38, I believe it is. And Persia is obviously, that's clearly their great tribulation. So Persia's not going to be, Iran, not going to be done away with.
Well, it's kind of Iran and Iraq together. I think it's that whole area.
More Iran, because Iran calls themselves Persia. The country of Iran, they
right.
call themselves Persia. So,
now, one other thing about Trump, and I didn't hear you bring this up. I looked. On June 14th of this year, Donald Trump will be 80 years old. So that means by the middle of the tribulation, if you're thinking he's the Antichrist, first we have to build, I guess, a temple in Jerusalem, and then he's got to go sit on it at the age of 83 after he's been assassinated and resurrected.
Well, he'd be 82 still,
Well, no, he'd be probably about 83, 82, 83. He'd be pretty close in there.
But again, I know where you're going, and that's what the point I was bringing up earlier. People bring that up to him, and I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this, and then it's kind of like, and then the person I was talking to said, "Oh, yeah, that's true. He's gonna have a wound by a sword and live. Have the spirit, the angel of the bottomless pit is gonna take him over. It's gonna counterfeit the resurrection. Okay, if you die when you're 80, do you come back with an 80-year-old looking body? No. So the body that Trump would have, or whoever the Antichrist is, when he has the wound by a sword and lives, that's part of the supernatural thing going on that causes the world to follow him, Tim. So, yeah, his age, that's what I'm saying. So his age before that is irrelevant. I'm having my son actually, hey, can you come here, please, while you're here? Actually, I cannot get this thing to the video live. This is my son's laptop, and so he's actually logged in up here, so hopefully I can get this going. So you see what I'm getting with that, though, Tim? That wouldn't then affect anything. Wouldn't affect anything.
So then he's going to look like a younger Trump.
Yeah, well, get this, kind of like all his AI representations of himself. It's always super Trump when you see his AI pictures of himself. It's like, buff Trump,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a false representation that he portrays. Obviously, he sees himself that way too. And yeah, why wouldn't it be? Again, 100%. Just put Donald Trump the Antichrist.
All right. So everybody knows out there. I will state this: that I believe that the rapture of the church happens before the tribulation starts. Steve takes the position that it happens about 10 days before the tribulation ends. So if I'm a Christian and I'm wrong about pre-tribulation rapture, which I don't think I am, but if it turns out that you're correct and the Christians go in through the tribulation, and we know who Donald Trump is right now, we know he was born in Queens, we know he was a businessman. A lot of people have been to his rallies, a lot of believers have for sure. And, we see what's going on and stuff happens. We're going to recognize, this dude is really the Antichrist. Okay. I mean, if all this falls according to what you're saying, Christians everywhere will know Donald Trump's the Antichrist.
Eventually, yes, they have to, because they're not going to follow him. 2 Thessalonians 2:13 says they're not going to be deceived. Christians won't be deceived in following Donald Trump or the Antichrist. Exactly. So this is the time of awakening that I would expect. That's why I'm glad you're doing this today, because hopefully God will use me to wake some of your friends out there up.
Okay. So if a couple years down the road, if you say, what do you think give me a percentage between 1% and 100% sure on how sure you are that Daniel's 70th week has already begun?
Okay, so what makes me think it's already begun?
No.
Actually, I finally got my video going up here. Thanks to
Okay. Not only why you think, but what percentage? Like if it's going to rain tomorrow, it's a 50% chance, a 75, 100% chance. We know for sure it's going to rain. We can see the storm coming. 80%
chance of Trump raining.
Yeah. So if you think the 70th week of Daniel has already started, what percentage do you believe? Do you think are you 50% sure? Are you 75% sure? Are you 25%? Give me a percentage of how sure you.
I'm 80% convinced that it's begun.
You're 80% convinced that Daniel's 70th week, the tribulation has begun.
Yeah.
And how sure are you that Donald Trump is likely the Antichrist? About the same. So tribulation and Trump run it at 80% for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, Trump, I just looked this up the other day. I looked up a couple of years ago. Once again, these don't prove anything. These are all little superficial things. But, oftentimes, I was thinking about this the other day. You look at all the prophecies that we would look at now, Tim, pointing back to prove who Jesus was, that he was the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that were pointing ahead to him are so obscure in Scripture. Like Micah 5, I think it is, talking about him being born, in Bethlehem. Well, that's really not a huge thing to go on, but yet it was enough to where it helped them identify him in the first century. His true followers, were like, well, check the box on Micah 5:2, if that's the reference. Him, Palm Sunday was a big one. Him fulfilling 4 prophecies in the Old Testament about that. So, but the point though is with Donald Trump, then the things to me that just like, wow, what makes me think he is the Antichrist, potentially. Again, it goes back to these things with his position that he's in right now, because I was looking for the same thing back when Obama was president.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's not because I have a thing against Trump. I don't have TDS, okay? I didn't have Obama, derangement syndrome, okay?
Yeah.
Like a lot of...
So let me see if I can simplify what you're saying. You think that whoever the president of the United States is when tribulation begins is going to be the Antichrist?
Well, okay, yes, if it happens like in the near future because of the position our country's in. Yes, so that's why I've been looking for 25 years now since I have been not pre-trib. Exactly, that's what I've been doing, and it's something, that I've just haven't heard nobody told me to start doing that. That's just something I believe the Lord had me start looking at, and I was challenged by this actually years ago by a missionary. He came up to our church up there at Kansas City Baptist Temple and was challenging me about the whole thing with, the whore, the identity of the whore, and started looking at things, and he started showing me some stuff there about our country. And in Revelation 18, that was the chapter that just kind of like, when you read Revelation 18, it's like, that describes the United States to a T in our country today, in our world today. And so it's not that I have an axe to grind with Donald Trump, but it is interesting. This is something I just saw literally a couple of days ago. I was looking up the stuff that's been in the news about this Ark of Triumph that he's wanting to build. You've heard about that?
I saw that briefly. I was walking by the TV and I saw that thing, and I didn't get the whole story. Go ahead and fill me in.
He's got a winged pagan god on top of that thing, and then under that, the inscription, "In God We Trust." But it's interesting. I looked up the word Trump, and Trump means triumph.
Yeah.
And in the word triumph, you see Trump. I mean, the letters are all there. And I just thought that was interesting because I looked up his first name years ago. Donald means world, like ruler. So the Donald, the ruler of the world. Okay, the Donald Trump, ruler of the world, and then Trump meaning to, triumph. It's just his name even like is wow. And the guy, think about this. One of the things about the Antichrist will be his name. Trump puts his name on everything. I was thinking about this week. The guy. There's all these people right now. I'm not saying it's the fulfillment of Revelation 13. Don't freak out. But it is interesting that we have a whole group of people in this country, the MAGA, and which we'll talk about that because that was one of the main things you called me about. Said you want to talk about this. I posted it up on.
Yeah, we haven't got to MAGA yet.
And when you're ready to, but the whole thing with Trump, people got hats that say Trump. People wear hats that say MAGA. Okay.
Right.
And then 45/46. But I thought that was interesting. It just kind of hit me that his people are already wearing his name on their forehead.
Okay.
And if MAGA is his mark, again, it's not there yet, but boy, it is like already right there in plain sight, Tim.
Yeah. Okay.
Clearly, people, I mean, come on, everybody knows that his cheap, $5 hats, that is just like a thing in itself that's funny almost, but it's not funny when you start thinking about the end time.
Yeah. So you said talking about the name Donald. So if you do Google definition of Donald, it will come up as world leader, proud chief, ruler of the world. Now, you mentioned MAGA. I haven't talked to you all about this yet. And of course, MAGA is a short acrostic for Make America Great Again. And originally it was used by Bill Clinton. And Trump kind of dusted it off and brought it back. It's unbeknownst to a lot of people, but when you do your research on it, I think Bill Clinton used it as well. Now, you claim that MAGA means what? What language? Is it Latin or what?
Well, yeah, it's Latin. If you look it, you just look it up. So I don't speak Latin, so. But the whole thing with MAGA, it's Magos or something else. I'd have to look it up and see it there. But back in the Persian Empire, back kind of what we were talking about earlier, Babylonian Empire, Persian Empire, Greek Empire, Roman Empire, those empires in a row there, according to Daniel. So in the Persian Empire, about 2,500 years ago, that's where that first word started coming up, as it was connected with sorcery, basically, in general.
Okay, so from Latin it means witch, like W-I-T-C-H. Yeah.
Correctly means sorceress. Yeah, which is interesting because of Revelation 18, with the fact that
magician or sorcerer. Okay, very good. Magician or sorcerer. Yeah, Latin is the feminine form of magus, which means magician or sorcerer.
Yeah,
it refers to a woman with magical powers or someone who practices sorcery.
Yeah, so MAGA is the feminine form of that, which again, the woman, okay, the Babylon mystery, it's her. By her sorceries, were all nations deceived. It's just interesting then that, okay, what does that mean about her? If the woman there in Revelation 18 is using sorceries, well, that would make her a sorceress. And I just think that's fascinating, again, because it's not proof, but it's another little interesting piece of the puzzle to put together and say, okay, what is this puzzle now starting to look like more? And that definitely goes on the side of my argument, or maybe not Donald Trump perfectly, but it's like MAGA, that's only one person you connect with that, and that's Trump.
Okay, so now,
shadowings is one thing going on right now.
So let me pull this up, because the word sorceries does appear in the book of Revelation. So,
Revelation 18. That's why we're quoting there at the very end.
So,
all nations deceived.
Let me.
Now, the whole chapter is talking about Babylon, the economic part of Babylon.
Right. Now, I'm going to pull that up. Let's see if I can get over here to that. And the Greek word for sorceries is what? Do you know?
What's pharmakeia? Yes.
Right, which is?
Dealing with pharmacy, yes. Which is interesting. A lot of people bring that up, and I brought that up before too. Which our country is known for, by the way.
Drugs, yeah. It's the use of illicit drugs and herbs, even.
Well, here's the thing: a sorcerer or sorceress uses magic potions, a witch. All those things. That whole cauldron full of names there and people. Yeah, they're magic potions connected with that. And so, there's another thing that's interesting about our country. Our country is only one of two countries in the world that allows pharmaceutical advertisement on TV. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
that would be the case that this world is being deceived. And here's what it's being deceived about, Tim, since you brought that up. And my video crashed on my end. So, but our world's deceived because it thinks that, you don't need God to be healed. You don't need God to fix your problems. No, you need a potion. You need a magic potion to cure what ails you.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Trump is the one that got, Operation Warp Speed going.
Okay.
Very likely there'll be another pandemic.
But there's something else that's gone on. And I don't know if you smell it down there. How many marijuana dispensaries are there down there?
Well, Texas, it's not like Colorado or Mexico.
I can tell you Missouri is getting like Colorado and Oregon and some of those other states. They advertise on sports radio. I guess because gambling is taking over the state as well now. They passed the sports gambling is now legal in Missouri, if you didn't know. And but these marijuana dispensaries are popping up all over the place.
Yeah, and again, I just think go back to the other, whether it's, I just think it's interesting in general, but I also think that with the thing, again, Jesus said in Matthew 24 that there's going to be pestilences clearly before the middle of Daniel's 70th week, before the time of Great Tribulation. And so, that's one of those places, there's really few places in the Bible that talks about things that couldn't be taking place before.
Sure. Let me pull over there to that, and I'll bring it up for the folks.
And so that there's a case then where a point then being back in 2020, okay, with the first COVID outbreak, okay, that could be
that's a pestilence for sure. Yeah. Okay.
And so pestilences, I'm not an English major, but pestilences, that's plural. So if we got to have another one, is my point, before the Great Tribulation, unless you then are going back years before that to maybe count the AIDS epidemic or whatever. But it definitely is interesting, because I think then that shows a lot, and a lot of people have seen that, shows you how quickly the world can be, coerced into doing some pretty crazy things. I never took the jab.
I didn't either. Here's the definition of pestilences. It's a fatal, contagious epidemic disease that rapidly affects a large population. So bubonic plague, cholera, of course, most recently COVID-19. I don't know if they include the flus, certain types of flus.
But Revelation, it talks about that. There's a trilogy of things you see all throughout the Bible: the sword,
sure,
the pestilence.
Let me give folks the rundown here.
6 talks about that.
Yeah. So the first one is, take heed that no man deceive you, and many coming in my name, saying I am Christ, and shall deceive many. We certainly see that with televangelists and stuff. Wars and rumors of wars. Well, we can see that on the daily news. End is not yet. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. The race things would be nation against nation. Kingdom against kingdom would be can be spiritual, or it could be country against. Famines, we definitely see that. Pestilences, we've seen that. Earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. We call that the beginning of sorrows. All right. Then people get delivered up, hated of all nations for his name'sake, betray one another, hate one another, and all that stuff. False prophets arise, deceive many. Iniquity abounding, so love grows cold. Gospel, the kingdom preached into all the world for witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So he gives you that. Now I think the abomination of desolation could be twofold, because in verses 15 through 20 is obviously a Jewish context.
Yeah, it's Great Tribulation there, obviously, the context too. And so, Revelation, Matthew 24 is
really. But that's basically to the Jews, 15 through 20. That's really dealing with Israel, because the abomination stand in the holy place. If that's the temple, that has nothing to do with the church.
Right, but 2 Thessalonians 2 has to do with the church.
2 Thessalonians 2 may have to do with the church, but not this part right here.
And I didn't say that, but it does. But yeah, and Tim, again, that's a good point you bring up. That it's like a lot of people, they act like you can't even use Matthew 24 because we're Christians. Well, obviously we can, because it's in the Bible, and it's talking about a period of time. And so, yes, I always make that distinction that, when Jesus is saying head for the hills, well, that ain't talking to Christians. That's talking to Israel. It's still describing events taking place in that chapter that doesn't make any difference who is being talked to in the context there. It's just talking about what's going on in the world. And again, in Revelation 6, this is the thing to me that dovetails with that there, is where, you see the exact same thing taking place. Verse 8, with the fourth seal, I looked and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. Power is given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death. That there is dealing with its pestilence. It's the same.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
It was the exact same thing when you looked that word up. And with the beasts of the earth. And so So and it's the same trio that Matthew uses, that Jeremiah uses several times. And so clearly here in Revelation 6, it's end times, duh. So it's just back to that then, because all that we got going from the pestilences, we started with the whole thing with sorceries and all that. That's my point then, is that we could definitely have another worldwide deception that would kind of make all these countries that are already talking about, like the Euro, the EU and even Great Britain, they both have plans here within the next 5 years. It's not even that long to implement this digital ID.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all those things that are already floating around. Find that with a world pandemic again, and it's kind of like, hey, we need to roll all this up into one package. And so again, and who's going to head that up and spearhead that? Well, last time it was the United States. Sure seems plausible to me that with the Antichrist running the show, why would it be any different? Is my point. So that's another thing again to put on to the scale there on the side of, whoever the Antichrist is, the woman that's in connection there with him, this system, she's going to deceive people. Hey, we can solve it. We can solve the problem. Don't worry, we got it. We got you on this. We got your best interest. Just take this mark.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it all winds up being there,
Right. A few years ago, and it might have been right after COVID, I did a 10-part series. I just kind of divided up in about 10-minute segments, 5 to 10 minute segments. And I laid out some 100 prophecies that I called active Bible prophecies, things you can see today in the news where you turn on your TV or internet or however you get your news. And you will actually see things in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 17, Luke 21, the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation. You will see, even in Paul's writing to Timothy, he says these things will happen in the latter times, and he gives you basically how people think and act. So, yeah. So there's 100 things noting that we are even at the doors, of the return of Christ.
That's a good type of study that I like when I see people tracking that way, because those are 2 Timothy 3. Yeah, it's very general things. It's a whole different aspect. It's not given like a revelation type of things, but it's very kind of
but it gives you the mindset of people, what people are like, and you can definitely see that in daily life. You pastor a church, so you're not in a regular 40-hour week job like I am. I don't know how much you're out in public, but I'm out in public quite a bit, either going to people's homes or businesses, and I deal with people at work or their businesses or whatever. But then I can see, just how people interact. I'm watching the news, and 2 Timothy 3 is all over the place.
Oh yeah, I play basketball and softball still. And so I'm with a bunch of lost men every week, multiple times, and hang around them. And I see, and that's older people. I mean, let alone about Texas Tech University with younger.
Yeah.
That's where you see 2 Timothy 3 kind of stuff on the college campus is where you see that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, today's youth is something else. Hey, let's wrap this up, because we're about an hour, and I need to get dinner going. You probably need dinner going too, but. So Steve, according to Steve, he says he's 80% sure that the tribulation, Daniel's 70th week, may have started as early as last October. He's 80% sure that Donald Trump is likely to be the Antichrist. I'm going to take the opposing view that I don't think the tribulation has quite started yet. I think we're pretty close. I actually think the rapture could very well happen this year. I'll get into that later. I don't believe Donald Trump is the Antichrist. He might be a forerunner to it, but according to Daniel 8, where I read Daniel 8:5 and on down through the chapter, I think that it's very likely that Donald Trump is the he-goat, and that the four horns that come up after him and then a little horn come up after them somewhere in there is the Antichrist. So, Steve, thanks for joining me today. And
I want to do that, by the way, just to say, if it winds up being somebody else coming out of this whole system, I mean, that's why I'm giving myself, again, some percentages there.
Some 20%.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Tim.
Steve, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I hope you all stayed till the end because we just wrapped up everything there. I think we got a lot of interesting stuff, especially out of the book of Daniel, chapter 8. Let me give you that reference again if you're still with me. That is Daniel chapter 8. I'm glad I caught this guy's video today. And then just reading the thing, as I was reading it live on the air, I actually picked up that Donald Trump is likely the he-goat. That is Daniel chapter 8 and verse 5. And it probably picks up at the start of the whole chapter. He talks about various things. He saw the ram in verse 4, but definitely the he-goat that comes from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes, and he wipes out the ram there in verse 7. Certainly looks like what's going on in epic fury. And you can see in verse 6, and ran into him in the fury of his power. Donald Trump definitely has power, and he got Operation Epic Fury going recently. So that's still going on. So this is April 18th, 2026. So a lot going on. Bible prophecy is totally active for the end times. And again, the possibility of the rapture is this year. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed Steve joining me. Maybe you learned something. Would love to hear your comments. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Almost to 100 subscribers. Got a lot recently. A lot for me recently as I went from 88 to 98. That's 10 in just a space of a few days here recently. Hope to get over 100. I mean, you'd like to have 1 million, 2 million, like some famous people, but that's not all that important. Just trying to get the word out, get everybody ready for what's coming down the pike, and boy, is it coming down the pike fast. So please like and subscribe to the channel if you would. Share it with other people. You can share it on other platforms, and I appreciate you watching today. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.